Iowa is a farming town of roughly 500 people. It's the kind of small town where everybody keeps their doors unlocked.
It's very tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody. It's very quaint.
This isn't the sort of community where you expect a home invasion to occur.
What begins as a home invasion escalates into a shooting as Tracey Richter fights to save her life and the lives of her children.
He went into that house with the intention to kill.
He was shot 9 times.
At approximately 6:50 p.m. on December 13th, 2001, dispatchers get a 911 call from Tracey Richter's 11-year-old son, Bert, describing an assault and a shooting that has just taken place at his home. It's an event that will make national news and shock the sleepy town of Early, Iowa. Before her life in the small town of Early, Iowa, Tracey lives in the big city of Chicago, Illinois. There she meets her first husband, Dr. John Pittman, while studying medicine at the University of Northwestern. They marry in 1988, and 2 years later have a son named Bert, but the marriage doesn't last long.
She divorces him in 1996, and then she marries Michael Roberts shortly after that.
Michael and Tracey meet online and aren't together long before tying the knot in Brisbane, Australia, where Michael's from. The divorce proceedings with Dr. Pittman are ugly and protracted, leading to an ongoing custody battle over Bert. The newly married Michael and Tracey are looking for a change of scenery and want to get away from the big city.
Tracey and Michael moved to Early in 1998. They moved from one of the largest cities in the United States to probably one of the smallest. Found a quaint Victorian home in a small town.
That same year, they start an online business and have a son. Moving to Early is a chance to get away from the past and start over. But even in a new town, issues with her ex-husband, John Pittman, persist. He has visitation rights, and therefore Bert must share his time between Tracey and John's places.
Tracey isn't happy about the arrangement. John is pushing to have full custody of Bert, and Tracey is afraid she may lose her son.
In 2001, the custody case over Bert is looming. But life for Tracey and Michael in Early, Iowa is good. Michael is busy with his computer business, and Tracey has since had another child, a daughter. Then, on December 13th, 2001, less than 2 weeks before Christmas, Michael has to go out of town.
Michael was on a business trip with his business partner.
Tracey is home alone with the kids when the unthinkable happens.
Tracey's son, Bert Pittman, made the 911 call. The 911 operator picked up and received what was a very frantic and hurried message that was very disjointed. The 911 technology did identify the Roberts residence as being the source of the call.
An officer is dispatched, though they have no idea what they're walking into. Within minutes, a deputy is on the scene.
He's approaching and very cautious, concerned not just for, his own safety, but the safety of the neighbors, the safety of Tracey and her children inside the home.
His main concern now is making sure that he gets everybody inside the house so that Tracey and her kids are safe.
The deputy checks if Tracey and the children are okay and asks for details of what happened.
The scenario that she describes is that she runs into the bedroom. Somebody comes in after her and grabs her and has a sort of pantyhose or some sort of scarf around her neck and is just yanking at her.
So far, between the 911 call and Tracey's bursts of information, it's not clear if there's someone still in the home. And if there is someone in the home, are they a threat?
The deputy finally gets Tracey to confirm there is someone upstairs, but she shot him several times, and she's pretty sure he's dead. A second officer arrives on the scene, allowing the deputy to leave Tracey and her kids while he sweeps the rest of the home. The officer points to the white vehicle in the driveway. Tracey says it isn't hers and that it must belong to the intruders. All the lights, save for the kitchen, appear to be off. The deputy makes his way through the house with his flashlight.
He finds a light switch at the foot of the stairs, and as he goes along, he continues to call out, announcing himself. If there is still someone there, they need to know that he's a police officer and that they need to show themselves.
The deputy slowly makes his way down the hall toward the master bedroom.
Before even getting to the bedroom, he can see that there's a body of a man on the floor near the doorway. He calls out, but there's no response, and as he gets closer, he can see why.
He's lying on the ground in a pool of blood.
The deputy can see he's been shot several times. There's very little chance that this individual is still alive. He checks for a pulse. There is none. Whoever this home invader was, he was killed by Tracey in self-defense.
There is literally still smoke in the air from the guns, and it smells like a weapon has just been fired.
The deputy calls down to the other officer, letting him know that the intruder is dead and that the house is secure.
Tracey and her children have just suffered a harrowing ordeal. It'll now be up to investigators to put all the pieces together in an effort to understand why they are the targets of this home invasion gone wrong, and how it ended in the death of this young man. Tracey Richter meets Dr. John Pittman while living in Chicago, and the two are quickly married. They have a son together named Bert, and after a few years, they divorce. Rather quickly, Tracey is remarried to an Australian man she meets online, Michael Roberts. Their honeymoon phase is short-lived, however, as the custody war with Dr. Pittman over Bert begins. Tracey, Bert, and Michael move to early Iowa. They have 2 more kids. Life is fairly simple and quiet until the evening of December 13th, 2001, when intruders break into the home while Michael is away on business. Tracey manages to fight back, and in the struggle, one of the intruders is shot dead. With the area secured, the EMT can now enter the home. He pronounces the young man dead at 7:22 p.m.
The deputy then calls for the DCI lab team and special agents to come to the scene. There are multiple gunshots and blood spatter everywhere. There's lots here that needs thorough analysis.
Detectives try to get a statement from Tracey, but she's preoccupied, demanding to know the identity of the man upstairs that she has shot.
She keeps mentioning her ex-husband, Dr. John Pittman, certain that he's somehow involved. But the deputy knows pretty much everybody in the community, and he conveys to her that the dead body upstairs is likely Tracey's neighbor.
So Dustin Wehde was this 19-year-old kid who had some learning disabilities, one of the most easygoing, friendly, quiet people in town. And when he met Tracey Richter and Michael Roberts, Michael kind of took Dustin under his wing and mentored him.
Dustin craved, approval and attention. He didn't have many friends. He had very, very few friends. And so the Roberts at least presented as friends to Dustin. And I know that Dustin believed that everybody in that family, even Tracey, was a friend.
The revelation that she's just shot and killed her neighbor, a friend of the family's, comes as a shock to Tracey. She can't fathom why he'd want to hurt her or her children after everything Michael has done to accept him into their home. While investigators search for the unidentified man who got away, they also have the unenviable task of informing Dustin's parents that their son was shot and killed. They confirm that he leaves around 5:30 p.m. and that the white car at the Roberts house is his. Investigators look to obtain a warrant to search the car. They're hopeful there may be some piece of evidence that can illuminate Dustin's motive in this home invasion gone wrong. On December 13th, 2001, two men break into Tracey Richter's home while her husband Michael is away on business. Tracey is attacked, but manages to get to the gun safe. She kills one of the intruders in self-defense, her neighbor, Dustin Wehde. Officers meticulously photograph the home and collect evidence, including the two guns Tracey uses to kill Dustin. A search of the house reveals no forced entry, and nothing appears to be stolen. There are no signs of ransacking in any of the rooms in the house. The only room that appears to be disturbed is the master bedroom, where the shooting takes place.
The detectives realize that blood spatter is going to be important to this case and that they need to document how the blood was deposited. Looking at how the blood is deposited can help tell the story of what happened and give the detectives some insight into what took place and how it took place.
Right now, one of the biggest questions still looming is what motivated the attack. But Tracey is convinced she already knows who is behind this, her ex-husband, John Pittman. Officers obtain a warrant and search Dustin's car.
Dustin Wehde's car is parked in the driveway of the Roberts home. And in full view, lying on the seat is a journal, a notebook.
Investigators bag it for evidence to be looked at later. There's not much else of interest in the car except an old computer, but it's unlikely that this is what Dustin came here to steal.
The lieutenant is looking through Dustin's notebook when something catches his eye. He sees the name John Pittman written several times.
In the notebook is this kind of narrative in Dustin Wehde's handwriting, confirmed, about how John Pittman, Tracey's first husband, arranged this whole home invasion and the murder of Tracey and her son Bert. So two things now we have to look at. One is, how did Dustin Wehde know John Pittman? John Pittman lives in Chicago. He's never even been to Early, Iowa.
While investigators are following up on the possible lead found in Dustin's notebook, his body is taken to Sioux City, where an autopsy is performed.
The doctor notes that 6 of the 9 entry wounds are in Dustin's back, which is interesting due to the fact that the suspect, Tracey Richter, is claiming that she killed Dustin in self-defense.
And there's literally a bullet wound in the back of his ear, like he's been executed.
The lieutenant follows up on the possible lead from the notebook and gets in touch with Tracey's ex-husband, Dr. John Pittman.
He's careful not to mention the notebook. Only he and a few other investigators know about it.
It was decided at that time that they would keep that hush, that they would not disclose it in any way and disseminate neither, its contents or its existence to anybody. And figuring that the first person to talk about it, the first person to evince knowledge of its contents would have some questions to answer.
Dr. Pittman is eager to help the investigation. He answers all the questions and provides his alibi for December 13th. He tells detectives he's never spoken to or had any contact with Dustin Wehde. He does tell them that he's in an ongoing custody battle for Bert.
The narrative isn't adding up, and as far as public perception is concerned, the residents of Early aren't sure what to believe. Tracey's story has hit the local papers, and rumors and gossip about what has really happened spread quickly.
I think there were a number of different reactions from people within the community. Some, taking, the Wehde side. Some believing that, she was a genuine victim. And I saw that the community was fairly split.
In 2002, Tracey and her family leave the town of Early. But things with Michael have already started to sour.
Michael and Tracey divorced a few years after the shooting. The divorce proceedings drug on for years and, were very contentious, very litigious.
She begins another custody battle with Michael, in addition to the one she's still fighting with Dr. Pittman. While public perception may be on Tracey's side on the national stage, at home, that's not the case. Tracey's claim of self-defense is looked upon with skepticism. Nonetheless, years go by, and it appears that nothing more will come of the case. But not everyone has forgotten. And in August 2008, a special agent of the Department of Criminal Investigation is assigned to investigate Dustin Wehde's murder. On December 13, 2001, Tracey Richter shoots her neighbor, Dustin Wehde, 9 times, killing him. Tracey claims she is attacked and it's in self-defense. But the townfolk of Early, Iowa aren't convinced by her story of self-defense. And neither is the special agent, who in 2008 is assigned to further investigate the shooting death of Dustin. They hire the Englert forensic consultants. The ballistics and data they collect contradicts Tracey's version of events. With new county attorney Ben Smith in office, the agent pushes him to try the case and bring Tracey in on a first-degree murder charge. Ben Smith is in his first year on the job, and already he's taking on a high-profile murder case.
I'm green. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never prosecuted, a speeding ticket at the time, let alone, a murder.
Their first steps were to talk to Tracey, and she didn't want to talk, but she did start sending emails to Trent Valita, and she started talking about the case. So he just continued to bait her. He just continued to send her questions, and she dug herself a hole. She started contradicting what she had said earlier. So they have that. Then they get the information about the woman who says, Tracey told me the contents of the journal before they were released. That's a huge witness.
On March 30th, 2011, the special agent and DA, Ben Smith, interview a former friend of Tracey's who still lives in Early.
She corroborates the agent's suspicion that Tracey knew about the notebook. She tells them that after the incident, Tracey told her that police found a notebook in Dustin's car. She said Dr. Pittman was the one who brought all of this into play. All of the stuff in the notebook suggested that Dr. Pittman was behind it.
The agent knows investigators keep the notebook a secret. Therefore, the only way Tracey could know about it is if she planted it there. On July 26, 2011, Tracey is arrested in Omaha on a warrant from Sac County, Iowa, of first-degree murder. She is transported to Sac County, and her trial begins 3 months later, in October. Prosecutors walk the jury through their findings in the case, breaking down Tracey's claim of self-defense and painting a picture of what really happens to Dustin Wehde.
They discuss the pink notebook, which Tracey should not have known about unless she had some part in fabricating it. They point to it as motive. Tracey wanted full custody of Bert, so she either tricked or coerced Dustin into writing it in order to vilify Dr. Pittman.
They also addressed the alleged strangulation marks on her neck.
The doctor who did the autopsy of Dustin, he would also go on to testify that the ligature marks around Tracey's necks were fabricated, that they were rug burns, that they could not have caused her to lose consciousness, as she claimed.
But the real nail in the coffin is the forensic consultant, Rod Englert.
Rod Englert then, took his findings and, oriented the jury as if they were sitting in Tracey's bedroom. Step by step, shot by shot, he would take me and move me in the direction that Dustin, according to the science and the forensics, have Dustin's path. and the sequence of events and the shootings of where he was at.
So the jury took 4 hours and 20 minutes and came back and said they had a verdict. So if you include a lunch in there, that's 3 hours in a murder trial that went on for weeks.
The jury found Tracey guilty of first-degree murder.
She is sentenced to life in prison.
I think the community reaction to the verdict, I think, was just as mixed as, you know, it was days after the shooting. I think some people still believe that Dustin was the aggressor. Not too many, though. Not as many as there were at the outset. You know, Tracey's family, you know, steadfast in their belief that she's innocent. But Mona's, her tears in you know, the months that preceded the trial, and her heartache was, you know, just, it stuck with me. And I felt more relief for them, because for years, their son was the aggressor. Their son was the perpetrator of this heinous offense, and we find the defendant guilty, you know, and by the jury returning those words, it completely, you know, exonerated Dustin's character and gave the Wehde family at least an avenue, or put them one step closer to getting whatever closure is for a murder.